Today we are talking about the technology mandatory syllabus. This is going to be a very important subject to you. It's one that most of you will teach, whatever area of technology you are hoping to specialise in. This is a mandatory subject that is taught to all students, and so usually all the staff in the TAS department are involved in technology mandatory. In most schools it will be taught in years 7 and 8. The syllabus is organised in the same way as other syllabuses, where you have a rationale, aims, objectives and outcomes. Then you have the content and more information about how that content should be taught. This is a diagram that appears in all of our TAS syllabuses, and it shows us the continuum of learning from when the students begin in their early years in the primary school, in kindergarten, through to year 6 they are taught science and technology. Then all students, when they hit years 7 to 8, they have technology mandatory. After that, they are able to elect the technology subjects that they would like to study, and this is where your particular interests will come to the fore. We will be looking in depth at the technology mandatory syllabus today, and then in a couple of weeks' time you will be individually looking at your other technology syllabuses for years 7 to 10. The rationale is interesting and gives us an understanding of technology education. It talks about that rapid rate of technological change and about the fact that we are living in a knowledge-based society. So we all accept that we need our students to develop a technological capability. We want them to be innovative thinkers, and we want them to have effective communication skills. So the rationale tells us that through the study of technology, we will integrate the procedural and conceptual knowledge based on a holistic view of design. And this holistic view of design is the underlying philosophy of our technology syllabuses. Students get the opportunity to learn about the different technologies and identify needs that have personal relevance. They apply their design theory and use design processes that encourage flexibility, resourcefulness, imagination, communication and production, and of course hopefully end up with a quality solution. Technologies assume increased importance when they are applied to solve real problems and to create ideas and solutions. So this is our job, to provide situations for our students where they can respond to needs and opportunities, and they can add functional, aesthetic and environmental value to products. We aim to have our students develop a fascination and enjoyment and become innovative and creative when they're making these decisions in the production of their working solutions. The rationale emphasises thinking skills, the use of reflective, flexible and creative skills, so that our students will build an understanding of underlying principles that can be transferred to different projects, settings and applications. Study in technology also develops skills in enterprise and initiative. Through practical experience, it leads students to develop, to select and apply technological skills involved in designing and producing. Asks a lot of us as teachers, doesn't it? And there's more. All of these aspects, these dot points, come out through our rationale. So basically, our students are going to be solving problems, generating ideas, developing new conceptual approaches, models, drawings, and information and communication technologies. We want them to have the ability to develop, produce, and implement quality solutions. And this is what will show their technological competence. These know why and know how capabilities often distinguish leading companies, innovators, and regions from their competitors. And technology education plays an important part in that aspect of our country's development. This is the aim that you will see in the front of the syllabus, and you'll see a similar aim in all of the syllabuses that you study this semester. It reminds us that we have a general technology education about the rapid technological change again, and all the things that are mentioned in the rationale are condensed into these couple of sentences quite well, I think. It does reflect the things that we've talked about in the previous slides and gives us an overview of what we are on about in Technology Mandatory. Here I've listed the 6 objectives. You will have in every syllabus you look at a list of objectives. If you look carefully at them, you'll see that they do evolve from the aim that we've just been looking at previously. There will be a different number of objectives in different syllabuses, but for all of these objectives, you will have outcomes. So if you read carefully through those objectives, you will see that once again, the rationale that we've been talking about is reflected through those objectives. We have the design, produce, evaluate, or as the national statement says, design, make, appraise. But that whole concept of a design process underlies these objectives. You will notice that in objective 6 that it talks about evaluating and reflecting. These are important skills that we need to develop in our students. Of these objectives, you will see that there is far more to this subject than just the development of a skill to make a product. That we are about design processes, design theory, and we apply all of this to develop skills and understandings. At the same time, we need to always remember that we do want a quality solution. Now, these next slides are going to show us how the outcomes fit into our objectives. It is important when you're going to be studying a syllabus to read the rationale carefully, to look at the aim, and then to study those outcomes. Your role as a teacher is to understand the outcomes that you want to achieve. And these slides that follow show us the 6 outcomes and the 6 objectives with their outcomes that link to that particular objective. So in this instance, we're talking about objective 1, knowledge, understanding and appreciation of skills in design processes, design theory and the work of designers. Then we have the outcomes, and the outcomes are what will impact on what we actually teach. So the students must apply design processes, describe factors, identify the roles of designers. They are the things that we are asked to consider in our lessons. Now, from those outcomes in the syllabus on page 20, you will also have a list of learn tos and learn abouts. So in order to achieve these outcomes, students have to learn about design processes, which include analysing needs, problems and opportunities, establishing criteria for success, researching, generating creative ideas, communicating ideas, experimenting and testing ideas, risk management, managing resources, producing design solutions, evaluating ideas and solutions. So I'm just reading a list that appears in the syllabus next to that particular outcome about applying design processes. And for each outcome, you will find the same information. So when you are designing a lesson, you will look at your objective, you will look at the outcomes that you are using in that lesson and ensure that you read specifically what the syllabus asks for our students to do. Outcome 2 tells us again, objective 2 tells us again another aspect of student learning: researching, experimenting, generating and communicating design ideas and solutions. So then you have your outcomes. Now, alone, what's listed there in those outcomes won't be enough for us to be able to design a lesson. So we will need to go, in this case for the outcomes listed here that relate to Objective 2, we would need to go to page 22 and look at what students have to learn to do. So where it says generate and communicate creative ideas and solutions, in the syllabus you will have that students learn to use a variety of methods to generate creative ideas for each design process. And there's a whole list, if you look carefully at your syllabus, of things that the students learn about and the students learn to do. Then we have Objective 3 with its outcomes. And again, in this syllabus, those outcomes are well expanded on to give us an idea of what we need to teach. You will notice that this Objective 3 relates very much to the development of skills and techniques and the use of technologies and different materials. So that's the area that those of you who have been here for the last few years have been working on with John Barlow and Fiona, and in your other specific subject areas. You've been working very much in this area. So we will be focusing more on what the theory is that underlies the syllabus in this subject. So then we come to Objective 4, and again an outcome that lists to that. We won't talk a lot about that one because that's one that we're going to be looking carefully at in one of our assessment tasks. This is the outcome and objective that you're going to be working with when you do your assessment task 2. Here we have Objective 5 and then the outcomes relating to Objective 5. In the syllabus, you will notice that these outcomes, for example, for this one, is listed as outcome 4.5.1. Now, that says Stage 4, Objective 5, which is here, and Outcome 1. Outcome 1 is applies management processes to successfully complete design projects. Then when we go to the syllabus and we look at Outcome 4.5.1, again we will have a list of things that students have to learn about. They have to learn about resource availability, including time, money, materials, tools and techniques, human resources, including skills and expertise, and other resources. They have to learn to identify resource availability and apply realistic limitations to each design project. So I was reading from page 24, and if you have a look at that, you can see how these things all link up. Here we have our final objective, and this is a very important aspect of technology education, where students look at ethical, social, environmental and sustainable considerations. We all know that that's an important aspect of being a designer. The consequences of our design are very important, and we need to train our students to think about those things. In an environment where global warming and environmental issues are paramount, as well as wastage and economic aspects, the consequences of our designs and the production of our designs is an important aspect. So we begin the study of that here in years 7 and 8, so that all students receive it, not just those that select our subjects. Again, I must reiterate that those outcomes alone don't tell you enough. When you are looking at doing your teaching and you're given an outcome to be teaching to, perhaps this one applies appropriate evaluation techniques throughout each design project, don't just assume that you understand that outcome. I'm sure you do to a certain extent, but you must also study what the syllabus writers are expecting you to do. So ensure that you look at what students learn about and what they learn to do, so that you can make sure that you are meeting the syllabus requirements. This is set out very well in this mandatory syllabus and made easy for us. It's not so easy in the next few syllabuses you'll be studying. Now, moving further along and looking at the a summary of what we've seen in those outcomes and objectives. This is just a few sentences that focus on what this syllabus allows us to do. We must remember that we have the concept of sustainability. We need to teach our students procedures to test for appropriate materials. The syllabus also has that focus on a whole design process. We refer to it as a holistic approach. So all of the parts of a design process merge together in different ways. We integrate technologies. Although you may be focusing particularly on one particular technology in your studies here at uni or in your past experiences, you will find there'll be a whole range of other technologies that you will be bringing into your teaching. But the bottom line is we are developing reflective learners, lifelong learners, and we must focus on the student thinking, on the pedagogy that's going to be incorporated into our teaching of this syllabus. Content is always important. This diagram tells us, is taken directly from the syllabus and tells us about our content. The content is quite complex. You have areas of study, you have design projects, and you have essential content. That essential content is integrated into all of our design projects. So you can see that there's design-related content, and there's essential technology-specific content. And that content is linked into each of the design projects the students will do. These design projects are chosen from areas of study, and there are specific rules about those areas of study that I'll mention in a moment. But you can see from this diagram you've got built environments, products, information and communication. So they're the three areas of study that our projects fit under. You can't just do design projects are fit under the products area of study. And that's what where teachers tend to make a mistake, because in the old syllabuses that they were teaching, they would be able to do that. So we must remember that we have a balance in these areas of studies. Now, each design project, see the key words: design, produce, evaluate. That's what our students do in every project. They design, produce, they evaluate. Then next to that, we've got a quality solution and a design folio. So we will talk about this more, of course, in our tutorials, but we do have to have a design folio of some kind. The syllabus expects that. Now, looking at our design-related content, you can see that they relate very much to the outcomes that we had, the 1, 2, 4 and 5 outcomes. They go very much to what we were talking about and what was listed in those outcomes. That's our design-related content. Remember that that will be integrated into all of our projects. Now, not all of that will be integrated all the time. You may have a project that focuses very much on the factors influencing design, and the others will just underlie that. Then you might have another project where you focus very much on the evaluation techniques. So not all of them will have a focus all of the time, but it is what will underlie each of our projects to varying degrees. Then we have the technology-specific content. Now, the materials, tools and techniques, they are also divided into areas. We have to use at least 6 different technologies. Students in that 2 years of study will have a minimum of 4 projects and a maximum of 8. They will have a design project from each area of study. Now then we have design specialisations, and then we have the technologies. The students have to study at least 6 different technologies. Those technologies are listed here. The ones that you are most likely to be familiar with are food, graphics, polymer, textile, timber. But there's a wide choice there that you can use. There is an aim to ensure that we have a broad area of study. And that's why these particular rules are listed in the syllabus, so that we can ensure that our students get a broad range of experiences. So we have our areas of study. And remember, one design project must be on each of the 3 areas. And each area includes a number of design specialisations. So you have to look carefully at when you are choosing your design projects to ensure that they fit within the areas of study and then the design specialisations. Sounds quite complex, and we are going to look more carefully at this, and you will need to spend some time reading about it in the syllabus to ensure that you understand that when you are developing your projects It is very carefully set out for you in the syllabus on page 15, where it goes through each of the areas of study and then talks about the where it talks about the specialisations. So, for example, under built environments, you've got design specialisations of architectural design, environment design, interior design, landscape design and structural design. Then under products, you've got accessories design, agricultural product design, fashion design, food design, industrial design, jewellery design. Under information and communications, you've got communication system design, information systems design, promotional design, software design, and digital media design. Don't get too concerned about all of this. It sounds very complicated. It will become clearer to you as you study the syllabus, and it is written there in the syllabus for us. Now, I've talked very much about what the syllabus tells us to do, and this is crucial to our teaching. As teachers, we are required to follow a syllabus. That is a legal expectation. And so when we are teaching, we need to remember that we must check that we are meeting the requirements of the syllabus. These are the regulations of our teaching set out by the Board of Studies, and it's up to us to ensure that we implement them properly. So it will be important that you study your syllabus. I suggest that you have a hard copy of this particular syllabus and that you also have a hard copy of the Stage 5 syllabus that you are hoping to be teaching in. Now, all of that tells us exactly what we have to teach, but we need to develop an understanding of the philosophy that underlies the teaching in technology. So the next few slides are going to just lead us to think a little bit more about the teaching and learning that's going to occur in this subject. The rationale goes to a certain extent to, and as you read the rationale, you come to an understanding of what teaching technology is about. These slides that I've got here are just quotes that I hope will start you thinking about what sort of a teacher you want to be. This subject has some real advantages in the fact that it is process-based, it is problem-based, it does foster inquiry learning, and so all those wonderful things that we want our students to do in their learning are very easy for us to incorporate into this subject area. We have moved on from the concept that we as the teacher have all knowledge and we are going to impart this knowledge into our students. That old concept of the empty vessels. The students are the empty vessels, and the teacher will fill these vessels with the knowledge that they need. Of course, today, we don't really even know what knowledge our students are going to need. So there are other things that we focus on. And the pedagogy is all about the thinking that our students will go through. We keep that in our mind whenever we're preparing our lessons for our classes. What sort of students do I have? I have to meet these outcomes. How can I best do that for this group of students? How can I ensure that they are actually going to have deep thinking? So we need to make sure that we consider some of the things that have been written about this subject and think about them in the context of our own teaching. I found when I was teaching Technology Mandatory that one of the most exciting things was to get the students to develop that ability to think and reflect and develop ideas, to ensure that they became risk takers, that they would think outside the square. It's important to create an atmosphere where they are comfortable doing that, that they're not going to be told, no, that won't work, no, that's wrong, no, you've got to do it this way. We want them to think about other ways to do things. We have to remember that as the teacher, we don't really know everything. We are imparting our wisdom to our students based on our experiences, but underlying all that, we are facilitating their learning. We need to create situations that's going to enable that learning to reflect the syllabus we've just been looking at. So this slide just is another quote about procedure knowledge and about the creation of a process. You'll notice that throughout this lecture I haven't talked about the design process. There is a design process set out in the syllabus, and that is what we follow to teach our students. But we always need to be aware that it's not a linear process. It's not always going to come in the same order. So I pose this question to you. What is a design process? You use a design process yourself constantly. In the morning you get up and you have the problem, what will I wear? And you, thank you, and you need to go through a design process deciding what you're going to wear. You, sorry, my phone rang and that's distracted me. So you look at the weather, you check out, you do your research, you look at the weather, you look in the wardrobe and you decide what you've got to wear, and you think about what you're going to be doing, and so you then design what you're going to wear. And so you evaluate it. And throughout the day, when you're boiling hot or you're far too cold, you're evaluating all the time too, and you learn from those mistakes that you make. But this concept of a design process is something that we use all the time. So it is a basic process that is very good for our students to understand. This is a diagram that the Department of Education has in one of its documents, and it's describing what technology curriculum and teaching is. So in the centre you've got that designing and producing, and then you've got around the outside, what you are going to be doing. So you've got this exploring and defining the task, generating and developing ideas, producing solutions. And notice that is not presented in a linear way. These are just two images that I put in my textbook to try and explain to students that a design process isn't a step-by-step linear aspect. So you've got the first one is giving it as a concept as a jigsaw, so that the pieces all fit together. They're all the steps that we teach them about in their design process. And then in the next one I've got a little cartoon to show how a design process might work for them in a situation. So that's another way of presenting a design process. Why do I focus on the design process? It does underlie everything we do in this subject. So here's another summary about how our technology can facilitate desirable learning. We want our students to be thinking, to be solving problems. At the same time, we want them to learn a set of skills. We want them to be good craftsmen, but we want them to also be risk takers, to be innovative, and to be reflective learners. This is, we want lifelong learners. We can't prepare our students for what they're going to do in their working life because we don't know yet what they're going to be doing. But we can prepare them with a number of skills that will help them in their thinking, in their solving problems, and gathering the information that they need to make informed decisions. So what is your vision for technology education? This is a quote that I picked out of a document that's put out by the Singapore Ministry of Education. Teach less, learn more. And I try to remember this when I was teaching. I would try and remember, yes, if I don't teach so much, my students will learn more. And I think we will talk more about this in our tutorials. Certainly at the moment in a lecture style, I am teaching or I am giving you information. It's not the best way for you to learn, but hopefully you have learned something today, and we will be talking more about it in our tutorials. So think about what your vision is for technology education, and I'll look forward to seeing you in our tutorial.